Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Arts Alive. I'm very pleased to have with me today Paul Kandarian. He's a friend and an actor, and he does a lot of film work. So you know, Paul, when I invited you to come on, one of the things that I thought about, you're a local guy, didn't do this all of your life. Yeah. How did you get involved in the?
It was in 2006, 2007. I did a story on Kurt Columbus, who's the head of Trinity.
Yes, yeah.
He was new then.
Well, you're a writer. I should preface all this with that you are a writer and have written a lot for local and beyond just the local area, into the Boston area.
Oh yeah, in the world.
Papers in the world. Yeah.
But anyway, I did a story on Kurt, and I had never really been to live theater before, and doing the story,
My God, when was this?
This is 2006.
Yeah, because I was going to say he hasn't been there, that long. So.
And I did the story, and I went to a couple of shows, and I just got caught up in the electricity of live theater, and I had always wanted to be an actor, but just never had the courage to do it. I grew up in Seekonk High School. I tried out for the drama club, and I went, and I got scared, and I left. Because I saw the stage, and
You went to hockey instead.
Well, I didn't play hockey then either. I got everything later. But anyway, so then I tried out for Later Life, a Gurney play down in Marion, the Art Center, and I got the lead in that. I said, well, this is a sign.
That's great.
And it's been like great ever since. I did 4 years of shows there, and then I went to a little theater, Fall River, did a show there. A bunch of them at your theater in New Bedford, Barker in Providence.
Yeah.
And then got into film a few years ago, and I got an agency 3 years ago because I realized film sometimes pays, which is nice.
Isn't that a good thing? Yes, it is. Right.
So I've been doing that, and I just get tons of different things. This week I got offered a part as a dancing janitor, a singing fisherman, and a scientist. And tonight I'm going to go down to the Cape to do, this guy's doing a science fiction film, so I'm going to do the opening oratory, this big booming dictator voice like this,
Now, you've not taken any lessons?
No. I learned I always wanted to do it, so I would intuitively just watch actors act and see how they make me feel like I was feeling it. It just kind of, osmosis, it just kind of like, and I never thought it would be that hard, and I don't know why I waited so long. I just tried it, and it was, I don't know. You come to it when
you come to it when you come to it, and in your case, it might have been just the right time because you're probably of an age where you're needed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? That people need that look, and great for you.
It is.
You're able to tell the audience some of the things that I know them from Facebook and other followings of you, but some of the ads and
they did 1-800-DENTIST, which was funny. It was a national commercial. A friend of mine in Hawaii texted me, "What the hell are you doing on my TV?" I just a couple of months ago went down to New Jersey to do a spot for Plymouth Rock Insurance as a snarky spokesman kind of person. That was fun. I went down to Brooklyn to play a sculpture. And it was just faking sculpting stuff, and it's for a condo commercial in Thailand. I mean, it's just all kinds of bizarre stuff, like this dancing janitor thing. I don't do much for free anymore because it's just you can't do it.
I don't blame you.
But I will do it. This is doing something for BU, and I've done tough stuff to get.
Northeastern, am I right with that? Maybe it was Tufts.
Yeah,
okay.
Tufts University. I've done Emerson, Northeastern, Fitchburg. Harvard, they just asked me about being a scientist in a play. A student there is a senior director, so they have the look. So apparently the look comes in handy.
The look is good.
Well, it's older, and it's so patently unfair that there's not as much activity for older women. It stinks. I don't know, it's a fact of life, I guess. But older guys, I mean, they get stuff left and right. So I'm just going to milk it for as long as I can.
Absolutely.
Because at some point, I'll be too old, except to play somebody's great-grandfather, and then I can play cadaver. I've died.
Now and then there's a call for that, right?
Yeah. I can die. I can die with the best of them.
Oh, please don't.
Not at the moment.
We don't want to see that. But don't I recall a medical, something medical? Were you a patient? You were a patient. Was it a series?
Oh, yeah.
That was done?
Seth.
Was that through Tufts?
No. Oh no. Yeah, you're right. I was going to mention Seth Chitwood of Barrington. He does a web series, and I played a killer on that series. But it was New England Baptist.
New England Baptist, yeah.
I did a 3-day shoot there, playing a patient. So it was like, this is how we check you in. And so it's patient education videos.
Yeah.
And there's a call for that. I've done
absolutely.
Skillsoft is a company out of, I forget where it's out of, but they do compliance videos for companies like, this is how not to be a racist, not to be, they teach you how to be a decent human being in the workplace. So I had to play a plant manager who was, there was a Middle Eastern employee came to me, and I was kind of condescending to him. So I was basically the what not to do.
What not to do,
but
right,
stuff like that. I mean,
yeah.
it's just incredible, the corporate videos and things. There's so much work out there. I've always said this about writing. People say, how do you be a writer? So, well, everything you see, every word you read, somebody had to write. And everything you see on TV or whatever, somebody
had
has
to write
do
it.
that.
All the lyrics for songs.
Oh, that, yeah.
Somebody had to
and then
write
somebody
it,
has to perform this stuff.
Of course.
And in local theaters, places like Little Theater, Fall River, a great venue.
Thank you.
It's I did one show there and I loved it, but there's so much community theater on here, so people who want to get their feet wet in acting, that's the best place to start, by far. I think everybody should train in theater.
So let's say you've gotten into community theater, your theater, Little Theater, whatever it may be, Barker Players in Providence, and then you decide, well, I think I'd like to do a little more. So what's step 2?
Well, then
for you, why don't we just take it through your chain?
Well, I decided to get into film because I always wanted to do that too.
Yeah. So you decide. So you're thinking, well, I think I'd like to try myself at film.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Well, I forget how I heard
what
of
did
it.
you do?
I hooked up with a kid in Barrington, Seth Chitwood, who runs Angelwood.
Angelwood, I've heard of that. Yeah.
And he does a ton of stuff. I mean, he's a very creative kid. He was a Rhode Island college student.
Yeah.
And so we did a web series called Red Circles, and it was it's kind of a weird series, but it was fun. And I played a real estate agent / serial killer. So I occasionally get to kill somebody, which was fun. And so I did that, and then you hear about other things, and then like 3 years ago, I hooked up with Model Club in Boston, and they represent, it's models, but they represent actors, and they find jobs. And it's not an agent, it's an agency. So that's been really...
And one thing kind of does lead to another.
Yeah, and then it's such a small community of actors in this area, too. We all know each other. I haven't been to an audition in a long time where I didn't see at least 3 people I knew, either for the same part that I am or whatever. I was at Boston Casting last week. It's like old home week. You just get, you just see people you've been in stuff with. I ran into a gal who played my daughter in a Charter Care commercial that's airing in Rhode Island, playing a cancer survivor, and she's my daughter. Saw her there. I mean, and saw somebody else. I was in a German network TV movie. I've been in a few of those. They shoot up in Boston. I saw somebody who I was in that with. So that's what I love about that. It's just such a
community of people.
Yeah, and everybody knows each other. Nobody's, they're not stabbing you in the back. It's not Hollywood. I mean, we're just trying to get by, and we support each other.
Right.
And they'll let you know.
I'm sure that when, someone that you've worked with, for instance, this is just a supposition, but if they're looking for something, and I'm in it already, and they're looking for a type like you, then obviously I'm going to say, well, gee, I know this guy, Paul Kandarian.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah,
I'm sure that goes in there too.
Yeah. And it's always like it's just a golden rule that I think I have a reputation for being easy to work with because I follow direction and I say whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. And if you want to change it. I don't care. So it's just that you just got to be amenable and adjustable, and don't be a diva, because nobody likes divas.
Nobody likes divas, no.
So you just got to be a good guy, be a good human being, and that helps too. That word of mouth travels.
Yeah, it does.
Because this guy's easy to work with. So,
Even in community theater, it's the same thing. I mean, as you said, it follows right through to wherever you're going. If you get that rep at that level, that you're very difficult to work with. You're not someone people want to bother with. That's it.
Yeah. And I just love small theater community. Like I said, Marion Arts Center, I wish I had.
That's a nice place too.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah,
and I hadn't done a show in there in a long time. And I filled in recently, not recently, it was a couple of years ago. But then I saw a show there last weekend that was terrific. It's like a whole new, you used to see the same people all the time, and now it's like new people, which is nice.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And sadly, the guy I started that, was my director, my first director, and he directed me like 5 or 6 plays there. He died just recently.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great guy, Rex McGraw. He was a terrific guy. He was a retired theater chair at Ohio University and Nebraska State. And he came here because he had relatives here, and he just directed plays, and he was just terrific. And he was a classic guy, like, I'm the director, don't give me advice. And people who didn't like that, but I figured this guy has forgotten more about theater than I'll ever know. I'm just going to shut up and listen.
Right, yeah.
And so I just learned more from that guy. It was just incredible.
Well, I think it is important. Sometimes people do get into situations and they think they know more than everyone else.
Yeah.
Big mistake
Yeah.
when that happens.
Yeah, this guy's been doing this whole life. I figure he knows what he's doing.
Well, let's hope that he
Yeah,
does. Let's take the chance on him. You know,
Yeah,
why not?
yeah, so that was good.
With his resume.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this Coast project.
yeah.
I'd like you to talk a bit about that too.
It's called Creating Outreach About Addiction Support Together, COAAST.org. And we do a play called Four Lakes to Stand On that I helped write the ending for. It's a family around a table, because everything happens around the family table, coming to grips with a child's addiction. And at first it was a son, and then we got another cast and it was a daughter, so that changes the dynamic.
The dynamic, right?
Yeah, and we've done it all over the place. We've got like a 20-something run coming up in Rhode Island for a bunch of high schools.
I was going to say, as I remembered, it's primarily geared toward high schools
Well,
this
towards
run
is,
students.
But
you
we
know?
did it at Brown,
yeah.
Alpert Medical School. We did
Yeah.
it for doctors there. We've done it for continuing
great.
continuing ed units for pediatric psych docs at Children's Hospital. So we did it a show up 2
That's
years
great.
in a row.
Yeah.
So we're doing it all over the place. So we're doing this round with the AG's office in Rhode Island, and they've been terrific. But it's about coming to grips with addiction. We realize a family member has it, and it's the uncertainty, it's the frustration, it's the anger, it's everything, the deceit. And I've been through this on my own. My son, Knockwood, is 3+ years in recovery. So that's why I wrote the father's monologue at the end, because that's everything I've screamed at my son.
Everything you've been through.
Yeah.
This, what better way to get it?
And it
than
resonates
that?
with so many people.
Of course it does.
We do a talk back later, and so many people connect with it. So they got relatives or whoever that are in addiction.
Now, if somebody were interested in having this presented, in whatever situation
Yeah.
it may be, a Rotary Club, a school, some other type of learning environment, where it could even be, I would think, in a business. Through human resources, where they're trying to train people into the sensitivity of it all, because somebody working right next to you could have an issue either in their family or themselves, and you would never know it. How would you know unless they showed it?
It happens to so many families, rich or poor, black or white. It just transcends all the social strata.
Everything, exactly.
But it's again, COAAST. It's like Coast, but with 2 A's.
Is there a website or something they can go to?
COAAST.org.
.org.
And it explains everything in there. It's about contacts, and there's all kinds of information.
Okay.
And we're doing a veterans component. My son is involved in that, which is nice.
Nice, yeah.
We did a big show presentation with the Department of Health in Rhode Island at the auditorium in Providence, which is a huge venue.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was the veterans.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And
I remember when that was happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my son was a presenter, which left me weeping in the wings, because I cry
yeah.
at everything.
Yeah.
But so it's going good. That's the most, of all the acting I've done, and I've done a lot, and I love it. And that's the most important, because it's personal, and it affects so many people, and it's just nice to help people, just to lift the stigma and get them to talk about it. Because without
isn't it?
conversation, we're not going anywhere.
No,
so this starts
no.
a conversation.
Exactly, yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Welcome back, everyone, to Arts Alive, and now it's my pleasure to welcome Russ Smith, who
Thank
is
you.
talking about music and all of that good stuff. Certainly no stranger to the music scene in this area. Has long been a promoter. Now, are you a musician yourself, Russ?
I'm not. A lot of people ask me
I
that.
thought you were. Yeah,
No.
I did.
I played the harmonica when I was a kid and the clarinet in high school, but other than that, I love being around musicians and I envy their talent, but I'm not musically oriented myself.
But you're very good at promoting and you're very good at booking.
I try to.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
You did it for, now, how did you get, I was going to say you did it for Sandy Woods in Tiverton. You were fabulous there, and now you're doing it for Pescamancet?
Yeah, for a number of years.
In Dartmouth.
I live at Sandy Woods, which, as you
I
know,
know,
is a
yeah.
community in Tiverton.
Right.
And we started up a music series there, I want to say 2012. And for 3-4 years, my partner Joan and I organized the concerts, and boy, we were doing probably 3, 4, 5 shows a week.
I was going to say there were a number of them every week.
Yeah, local, national, international
Yeah.
bands coming in.
Yeah.
And after a few years, it was time to take a break. But then, of course, it gets in your blood, as you can imagine, with theater, for example.
Right.
And so just a few months after deciding to take a break from that, we decided, well, let's focus on folk music, singer-songwriters, and there's so much local talent in southeastern Mass and Rhode Island. Let's just do something a little more scaled down. And one day we were driving through Russell's Mills Village, which I'm sure a lot of the viewers will recognize the name. It's just a beautiful part of South Dartmouth. And we stumbled on the old Grange Hall on Fisher Road, and we were able to get inside and look around, and we realized it was the perfect place for what you might call a folk club. Later on, we found out that there had been a folk club there.
Really?
Yeah, years and years ago. So it's a way of bringing music back into the building. Started out life as a schoolhouse, the building. And
Well, that's very apropos now
Yeah.
that it be, yeah.
yeah,
Still teaching in a way, you know, through,
That's right.
through music, yeah.
so it's a beautiful place. The acoustics are wonderful because everything's wooden inside, the benches, the tables, the floor, nothing absorbs the sound. So we started late summer of 2015, and we do roughly one show a month, and focusing on mostly local musicians. Sometimes we'll bring in somebody from another part of New England, for example. But it's a lot of fun, and we have a nice, loyal following that we've built up.
I think it's great,
Yeah.
really, and I'm so pleased, you know, that you kind of stayed in the business, so to speak, and, you know, that it didn't just go away with Sandy Woods, but you've just found another place to do what you do,
Yeah.
which is nice, yeah.
I
So-
wear a lot of different hats, but
Well,
I
that's
always
okay,
make room,
yeah,
I
yeah.
make room for the music.
Well, you know, that's important. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of us wear different hats, but as long as they're hats that we're comfortable with,
Exactly.
we're all set, you know.
Exactly.
So what have you got coming up there?
So normally we do one a month. Right now we're doing more like a couple a month because with the terrible, I shouldn't say terrible, some people love the winter.
The winter, right.
I love
This-
the winter.
This winter was tough.
But it was tough.
Yeah, it was,
and
if
so
March was in particular.
a couple of the shows we had to cancel for safety reasons. So we're actually doing a few rather than just the one a month. I think when this show airs, we will have already had our March 31st show.
Right.
But that will be Mike Laureano and the Flying Laureano Brothers, which those are his brothers, Tom and Frank. They're great guys, wonderful musicians. And Mike is just a fantastic songwriter. So they'll be coming in March 31st. And then in April, we have two shows. John McAuliffe will be with us. And then a week later, Butch McCarthy and the Gents will come in. All these dates are Saturdays, by the
Oh,
way.
excuse me.
God bless you.
Sorry.
The dates are all on Saturdays. We go with a 7:30 start time, and doors open at 7. And
Now,
He-
tell us a little bit about these two featured performers for April.
yeah, John McAuliffe has been around for a long time. He was part of a band that was signed to Warner Brothers Records label, and they put out 2 albums on that record label. I could be wrong. I think that may go back all the way to the 70s. And then he was in another band in Boston. He was signed up as a professional songwriter for a time. And later in life, he put out 2 solo albums. So he has 2 solo albums to his credit. He does gospel, soul, folk, some rock.
From the area, from this area, general area? Or?
From Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I could be off. I want to say Franklin, Mass, but that may not be quite right. But in Massachusetts. And he's bringing his wife, Patty, with him, who does harmony vocals and plays
nice.
percussion. And John's on guitar and vocals. It should be a wonderful night. We haven't had him at the Dartmouth Grange before. And then a week later, we'll have Butch McCarthy coming in, who a lot of folks in the Dartmouth Fall River area will recognize.
Familiar with, right, yeah.
Yep, wonderful musician, great visual artist as well. Yeah.
Now, he is. He's been, he was with another group too, I think, that McCarthy and
Yes.
at one point in time, that people may also relate to that.
Yep, and I'm blanking on that prior band formation. Right now, it's Butch McCarthy and the Gents.
And the Gents, yeah.
So that'll be his backup musicians for the night. We have Gary Fish, who's a wonderful musician. He runs the open mic at Sandy Woods every Tuesday night now, and he's our sound engineer. So he comes in, does sound check, makes sure the band has everything they need, and then if time allows, Gary will play a few songs when people are
Nice.
finding their seats.
Yeah.
And then at 7:30, we go right into the main performer.
And they run about 2 hours, the shows, give or take? Yeah.
7:30 to 9:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere in there. It all depends. Usually the bands will play 2 sets. The Grange allows food and drink.
I was going to ask about that too, yeah. That was
Non-alcoholic beverages, because it's a Grange Hall. I didn't know this, but the history of the Grange in the United States is very much tied to the temperance movement.
Really?
Yeah. So there's their own set of rules ask that people not bring alcohol into the Grange Hall, but people can bring other beverages and any food that they might want. And we set up tables and chairs in the building.
That's great. Yeah, it's
Seats-
a very homey kind of atmosphere.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the tables and chairs are historic. I mean, you look at the chairs and they go back.
Well,
decades.
how old is that building? you know?
1840,
Oh, wow.
maybe
Yeah.
1830, early 1800s.
Heading to 200 years.
And you know what they're most well known for right now is some years ago they set up a state-of-the-art kitchen. They built an addition at the back of the Grange building, the Dartmouth Grange Kitchen, and people who want to get involved in catering or bake for farmers markets, but they don't want to spend money on getting their home kitchen up to grade because you have
Right.
to meet all these health regulations. Excuse me, now it's my turn. They can cook and bake at the Dartmouth Kitchen.
Oh, isn't that nice?
And then everything they make there is legally certified for
Right.
commercial or retail sale. So there's a marvelous kitchen that people can take a look at when they come to
Now,
the concerts.
is there a little fee for that? I would assume there
Yeah,
is for the
there's
use
an
of that.
hourly usage
Yeah,
fee.
yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, if you go to the Grange website, they have all the information on there. But of course, Joan and I just focus
You're
on
just
the
there
music.
for the music, right? Yeah,
Right.
and let the people bring whatever they like for the evening, and
That's right.
yeah. Now, so tell me, you know, why music? Why did you find yourself so drawn to that sphere of the arts, let's say? And is there any other? I don't know.
I did some visual art.
Okay.
I haven't had time to do it lately, but I did some sculpture and some installation art. That was probably my first contact with creative and artistic people. When Sandy Woods asked me to coordinate their programming, you've been to the hall, and
Yes.
the first time you're in the hall, you realize
Hall is
it's
great.
tailor-made for music.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it
And
is.
actually, Chris Farias, who's my neighbor at Sandy Woods, he lives in the community.
Oh, does he?
He does. yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
And when he first was in the building with me, right away he realized how great the acoustics were. And that really started it. Chris organized the very first concert. It featured some Tiverton High School bands, and Chris himself played, his father Gary. And then we did another one, and then we did another one, and then before we knew it, we were doing 10 to 12 concerts a month. And
So
we were,
Sandy Woods was, though, your first sort of
Yes.
foray into this whole idea of, yeah.
Yeah, and then the word spread, and before we knew it, we had bands like Battlefield from Scotland and Rory Block, a great blueswoman, just some really well-known
Very,
international
very. I
performers
remember the.
coming through.
I'm trying to think of the man who sang "The Cat's in the Cradle." His daughter came through.
Jen.
Was that? Yeah.
Jen Chapin.
Jen Chapin. Yeah, she was living in Brooklyn at the time. She was wonderful. She was with her husband,
Yeah.
and she was on in another venue that I was doing at the time, the
Yeah.
radio show.
Yeah.
And she was terrific, and it was so interesting, of course, to meet her. And
Yeah.
you know, I had been a great admirer, Harry Chapin,
That's right.
great admirer of her father, and particularly his lyrics. I always
Yeah.
zeroed in on the lyrics, and
And
they were
having
great.
met Jen when she performed at Sandy Woods, I mean, she inherited her father's musical ability, but also his, his social awareness. She's very much involved in hunger
Yes.
awareness programs. So yeah, she was another great performer. So the music just started, and
It doesn't stop.
and it doesn't stop.
No, it
and,
doesn't.
And when you're
Thank God for that.
yeah,
You know, really.
and when you're bringing in so many performers, it's like the whole world is coming to your doorstep. And these musicians are fascinating people.
Oh, absolutely. They are to talk to, and you know, well, how did you get started? And
Yeah.
the stories that they have to tell are just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some young guys just getting started, and they were touring the country, sleeping in their car, and we'd offer them a spare bed and a slice of pizza, and their eyes would light up. You know, it was like
That
Christmas.
worked, right? Yeah,
So they come in all shapes and sizes.
exactly.
But there's so much talent in this area, and I'm looking forward to Mike Loriano at the end of March, and John McAuliffe and Butch McCarthy.
And Butch and yeah, and who do you have lined up for
And then
May?
it,
Did we talk May at all?
yeah,
I mean,
May-
we're going to try to do something with the May group. I know.
Yeah, May is Rosewood, which is a fairly new trio. but they involve very experienced musicians. Chris Farias, who I've already mentioned, guitar and vocals. Tom Laureano, Mike's brother, who'll be performing as part of the Flying Laureano Brothers. He's part of Rosewood on percussion. And then the third member is Alicia Ruggiero, who's a fiddle and violin player. And hopefully they'll be able to play for you for the cable show. And then they'll be our artist second Saturday night in May.
In May, yeah.
And then it goes on from there. June, second Saturday in June, we have Forever Young, which is a Neil Young tribute band. 2.5 hours of just Neil Young songs. Some of the best musicians in Rhode Island are part of that band. Folks like John Fuzik, Amy Bedard, Pete Vendittoli. So it's a lot of fun. And
It is.
the other thing I love about music is it just brings people together. You know,
Oh, it is, yeah. Universal language, that's what they say, and it's,
Yeah.
in my life, it's proven to be the truth.
Yeah.
Pascomanset?
Yeah, we named it that. It's kind of a mouthful. It's, well, a lot of viewers will know the name, but it's Paskamansett, Old Native American name. And the Pascomanset River flows right through Russell's Mills, just a stone's throw from the Grange Hall. So we thought we'd name it the Pascomanset Concert Series. There is a Facebook page that people
They'd
can
like
go
to go on and check it out, right?
Yeah, and that's where we list all the events that are coming up, and there's a website as well. But we try to streamline it, so it's always, I shouldn't say always, but it's usually the second Saturday night of the month. It's always 7:30, and that pricing I mentioned is always,
It's always
the
the same, yeah.
So
So
hopefully it gets on
let's come
people's
out and
radar.
join Russ and Joanne,
Joan.
Joan,
Yeah, my partner.
yeah, and the group at Pascomanset. You'll hear some wonderful music, and we thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon.